our game 1 draft here. As it goes live, I timed that perfectly on purpose. Thank you, LPL. LGD on your blue side. AL will have your first pick. So the classic wonky first selection draft we have underway, and already your meta staples coming off the board in the jungle and support position, and Kman's favorite Orianna.
Yeah, you got to take the Orianna away. Notably, we had that side lane graphic, and Ryze is available. It's Shanks' most played champion by far. It's actually really commonly banned, but it's actually going to be the Varus for Hope, another champion. It's actually the most banned against anyone's legend across this year. Hope very much known for his Varus early on in his career when he was on JD Gaming and, even WE for a bit. He was finding a lot of success on that champion. Gives you a lot of ability to play safe in the early laning phase, and actually does kind of open up the possibility for Kael to be on a playmaker like a Bard in this game if they wanted to go that route. The Nico as well. It leaves Rumble Ryze or Rumble Jarvan or really whatever you want to go for on the other side. So definitely a little bit scary, but I can understand the idea.
Maybe the Trundle, too. Yeah, we've consistently seen this duo really crop up, and Trundle's priority really skyrocket in the playoffs. Again, the point I always love to make with Trundle, one of the most OP basic abilities you have in the game with that pillar, just such overpowered terrain usage. But now we arrive on the Tarzan predicament, potentially, with him hovering the Naafiri. He's always been a twofold kind of player so far in his up and down split. He goes all index carry sometimes, usually in the Naafiri, the Kiana he's tapped into a couple times, or he plays that much more supportive role. But we'll leave Tarzan off for a bit here, as it wasn't the first selection there, Kman, but here's an AL staple. They're already showing that they're looking to play the map here. Ryze, and you mentioned the Varus could be left on the bot side, so we're going right back to the classic AL strategy, but finally, we get a team fighter coming through here for Flandre. The Sion was just looking too good.
Yeah, I think it's one of those, you tried to dissuade the Sion by picking the Trundle on the other side for LGD, and Flandre was like, nah, it doesn't matter. Who cares? You can steal my stats. I'm not going to worry about it too much. I'm still going to be a big nuisance to try and stop this Rumble from getting fed in the laning phase. It does make some sense, but really, this is opening up a carry jungle opportunity. The Anivia being hovered and the Anivia being locked in, that has been the staple counterpick to Ryze over the course of this split. Clearly, it's what LGD were comfortable playing because they left up that Ryze, Shanks' most played champion. So we have a very clear identity already for both of these teams. You have a lot of terrain control coming in from LGD. They want to fight in these small areas around Trundle Pillar, Equalizer, Anivia Wall. I mean, they have so many different ways to control objectives if they do get there, but the team fighting ability from AL is going to be massive, and they're already starting to play into the idea that we talked about in the pre-show with opening up the map with that Ryze Realm Warp.
I'm still terrified of getting... I made the pillar point. Shout out Tangyuan for allowing me to do this. The next best terrain ability is, of course, the Anivia Wall. So we're going to have pillars, we're going to have walls, we're going to have equalizers. Yeah, I like that point you made. If LGD can get first set up at these important Drakes, potential Baron fights as well, I feel like it is very impossible, even to force a Sion in, who can easily run into either of those terrain abilities. We'll have to watch out for that. Junglers coming off the board here for LGD so far, as AL look to target onto Shaoye's champion pool. Like that approach from AL. I think YCX has a pretty flexible pool at this point in a game 1. So let's try and get Shaoye a little bit uncomfortable, and I'll make the note now, since it's a best of 5. Just always watch out for the Draven. It didn't go banned.
Yeah, I mean, you do have to watch out for Shaoye's Draven. It is his signature champion. I wouldn't expect it here in game 1. This would be a very, very greedy game to draft Draven in, specifically this early with so many answers on the bot side still left to be picked, but it's definitely possible. Couple AD carries that are left up. Yunara, I think, is kind of the main one for me. Yunara Lulu would be something that would be pretty easily lockable here if LGD just want more damage. Ezreal as well, very safe on the bottom side. Jhin kind of fills a very similar role to the Ezreal. If you want to go that route, just play weak side bot. You understand that you have a Rumble on the top side. You don't necessarily need that like strong 2v2 immediately. You can pair this up with Karma, or you can pair it up with something like the Nautilus to give you more engage down the stretch, because Trundle's not exactly the most consistent form of engage. Saying that, AL might just take it away. Bard could be an option for them as well. I would be stunned if it's not Naafiri plus some sort of engage playmaker for AL. That feels like an insta-lock for them here.
I know the hover convo. I don't really care. I'm throwing that out the window. Just give Kael the Nautilus, man. Let's get this guy back to playmaking. We really emphasized it in the pre-show if you missed it. I feel like it is the spot to finally do it. Bard also works as well. Yeah. There we go. All right. Kael is not on Enchanter duty. This feels like a more confident AL draft, but they definitely have to get running early. And that tandem you talked about, Tarzan and Kael, this is, in the current meta, the best 2 champions I feel like to fit that bill in that strategy. So we'll see AL go for that, as YCX will gobble up the Nautilus, which I also like. LGD, they've brought a lot of their crowd control through the bot side here, and there's a ton of great setup here for the Jhin. I actually like the Jhin into this game.
I really like the Jhin. I think it's perfect for exactly what they're doing, which is essentially saying we want YCX to be this big playmaker that can roam around the map to match Kael. We don't want to give over that pressure for free. We're going to be playing a lot of these 3v3 skirmishes around the middle of the map because we have that counter pick in our eyes in the mid lane. It is really important for the jungler to be in a spot where he can skirmish in this game. If Heng gets behind at all against Tarzan, this game becomes so much more difficult because he's really the only way you can take down the Sion in the later part of the game. Very possible for them to do so. AL just have so much comfort. This is exactly the kind of draft that you would have wanted them to take in game number 1. Basically, every player is playing their signature champion, and I think they're definitely going to use that pretty well in the opening stages here to try and get themselves into 5v5 teamfight positions.
Definitely a draft from either side that we expected. And like you mentioned, Kman, always game 1's vital in a best of 5 for a multitude of reasons, starting off with the right foot forward. But now that we've seen the draft, I think it really even further emphasizes how much a game 1 win would mean when you look at the future of the series and the fact that all 10 of these champions are going to come off of the board here. Anyone's Legend, all the pressure on them to try and make a lower bracket run when they are expected to be competitive, one of the competitors of our split with this roster, repeating from 2025. But LGD, I love the statement, Kman, you ran with. In this split 2 playoffs, why not LGD? Let's see if they can put the right foot forward here as we hit the Rift. Game 1, LGD, Anyone's Legend.
Some big cheers for Anyone's Legend coming out here in game number 1, but LGD fans still showing up. We definitely have quite a few. Yeah, exactly. You get 1 win under your belt if you're LGD in this series. I promise you that's going to be changing in terms of the cheers coming in. So very important for them. We're going to keep an eye. I imagine summoners are about to get blown very early here on the bot side. That's what you want to do is these 2 playmakers specifically. I think that there is a conversation generally about, oh, what bot lane pushes forward as we get the traditional exchange early on here.
There you go.
I don't imagine Nautilus and Bardol are going to be here for very long. I think that this is going to be a bot lane that very quickly devolves into AD carries pushing into each other while potentially the junglers take more of a spotlight as they path down to the bottom side.
I was all for the fact that we got the enchanters coming back in, but I missed our supports being able to roam. Man, nice little walk there from Kael to not get hit by the Deadly Flourish. The Dredge line still lands here for YCX, so it's a decent chunk trade. But I didn't realize when we had all this 2v2 prio how much I'd actually miss our supports getting out and roaming the map. I'm sure our jungler players also missed having that buddy next to them. And speaking on our junglers, well, both are playing a similar style, just trying to burn through their first clear as quickly as possible and farm up to get to a pretty comfortable spot here. Neither of them are super reliant on getting their ultimates. It's definitely helpful, but skirmishing is the lead that both these guys need to find with the Trundle and Naafiri matchup.
Definitely. I mean,
oh my god, is Shanks just going to drop?
Trade early.
That's both sums off Shanks, just like that.
That's a huge mistake from Shanks. I mean, he has to recognize that he's playing into Anivia. Like, worst case scenario there, you pop egg. Like, that's the best possible outcome of that. I don't really understand why you're trading so aggro. This Ryze comes online really aggressively at level 6, obviously. But even before that, once you get that first back in, it becomes pretty safe to be able to at least farm out the laning phase. That's just a mistake that you can't really be making. That's a big summoner advantage, and now mid lane could be a priority for LGD moving forward.
Talked endlessly about how we expect these junglers to look to roam with their supports. That's a pretty consistent punish here as we do see Tarzan also looking to probably vie for that bot crab. He does get pushed off of it. Heng picks that one up, and now he's requiring Shanks to help cover for him. And hey, there we go, Kman. Just as we ordered, Kael's right next to Tarzan, and I see on my map that YCX has decided to path back up through the mid lane to get out onto the Rift here. So let's see. I'm curious to see if LGD can beat Anyone's Legend at their own game that they've been so successful over the last couple of splits doing.
It's going to be interesting to see. LGD are certainly throwing down the gauntlet in terms of trying to open up the map. For now, though, this is exactly why you pick something like Jhin on the bot side, Varus as well. Both of them incredibly safe. No actual threat. Is YCX going to walk up understands that his Anivia is a little bit stronger right now, and so feels very, very happy to try and punish Kael here as we just get a little bit of damage. That's the portal combat that you mentioned coming down. Kael's going to be fine.
That's a big win for YCX, though. I will say, comes out a bit ahead in that regard. Magical Journey was always going to be the protection there for Mr. Kael, and now he'll have to make a more respectful, long wraparound walk back towards his AD carry. Mr. YCX will be spotted coming down the river here, so he'll pass the respect and back off. Both bot lanes are currently sitting on wards at the moment, so they'll get back into their situated 2v2s. And we see Burdol starting to accrue a bit more of an HP lead here into Flandre as he overheats, gets a ton of damage through those autos down. And, well, both solo lanes so far here for LGD looking good.
Yeah, LGD are doing a fantastic job of punishing these kind of scaling-oriented solo laners. The Sion will eventually become near unkillable for the Rumble, but he certainly isn't yet, and the Ryze obviously will eventually be able to open up the map more effectively than the Anivia will, but we're not at that level 6 power spike. This is the time of the game where it does feel like LGD are going to have the biggest advantage in terms of these laning phases. Once we start hitting level 6, it's going to be more difficult for them to make these same kinds of macro plays and, skirmish fights as long as they're not, super far behind. So it's really important for them to keep the pressure on. Tangyuan with a very big lead for himself in the mid lane, and no sums on Shanks, at least for a little bit, kind of delays the power spike that they were eventually going to play for.
Level 6 ultimates coming online for these mid laners. Equalizer, and of course that Glacial Storm available. First Dragon also has already been chilling on the Rift here, so just a matter of time about when we start having those prio conversations. You can see that Tarzan right now looking to try and, I believe, play for that second crab spawn here. Curious, I believe with the XP that should give him level 6, and it should give him a little bit of, giving it to him before Heng can get access to it here. So that does, make it a little bit of an interesting timer here for Mr. Tarzan, especially considering Heng is trying to path over there to get the access to the crab himself, but he's going to be too little too late. So call the pack is up and available here for Tarzan, as right on toad, Flandre's going to use the unstoppable onslaught, dive on top of Burdol, and he has to expend his flash.
I mean, it is Rumble Flash, but that is a big play made for AL. That's a lot of their early resources utilized to get Flash out of the top side. We'll see if they take advantage of it, because that is now their strong point of the map. Burdol even just gets to burn down Flandre. YCX is here. This Sion's in a little bit of danger.
Kael rushing over to try and protect his top laner. Good flash away from the dredge line. Turrets back with a decimating smash. Heng is in the area as well, so this is a full-blown 3v3. But like you pointed out, 2 of the ultimates off the board for AL's members is Shanks once again going very low with Tangyuan, who has the safety of the egg and comes out just a couple of morsels ahead.
You can't be taking these aggressive trades as Ryze in the mid game. This is the one part of the game where you can't really be giving over that free pressure to Anivia. It's constantly delaying the amount of plays that this Ryze can make. Think if you had Realm Warp for a potential top lane counter engage on the top side there. It would have changed everything, and unfortunately for Shanks, he's just a little bit behind in tempo. We're showing the bot lane here, but both of these two are likely going to be a little bit passive in this game, especially in the early parts. They're going to be much more scaling oriented, but my eyes are now absolutely on these junglers. Heng has his level 6, and it's on cooldown, or it's off cooldown with Tarzan's ult on cooldown. I would imagine this is a big timer for the Trundle to potentially look on the bot side for a dragon take if they want to set up for it.
Looks like we're cruising towards a potential trade that we used to see when Grubs were first introduced, about a season plus ago, where Grubs and First Rate come onto the Rift at the same time. 20 seconds out to the Grub spawn, so it's going to be up to these jugglers to try and figure out what the priorities lie for their opponent here. Right now, we're seeing both Tarzan and Heng clear out their respective bot sides. Let's see which one of them decides to path towards that first dragon or maybe towards those Grubs. In a game like this, definitely feels like AL, they may have the scaling factor came in, but the way they play, I feel like they would love the Grubs. LGD certainly want to get a hold of these, and, well, with the Trundle, yep, Heng's going to path right on towards them.
I actually think both teams really want Dragon in this game, if only for the fact that I think both of them want to set up. Yeah, you're true. No, I think both of them just want to set up for these fights, right? Like, I think when I think about the way that both of them want to play, the more you can force fights around these small objectives, the better. For now, that means Shaoye is going to be in a little bit of danger under his own tower here.
All right, YCX is being zoned away by Tarzan and Kael. But all the while this is going on, Heng is getting grubs for free. So AL need to make this play happen. Hound's Pursuit immediately goes down. Cleanse on the Chains of Corruption. Shaoye is just juking around Tarzan, but the first blood comes through from Kael. And with the untargetable, Tarzan drops the aggro. And it's time to do the same song and dance once again. Hound's Pursuit forward. This time, Hope picks up the kill. Some fancy forward from Shaoye, but the end result is a win to 2 kills. Anyone's legend.
That is the exact kind of play they needed to make. Shanks is going to pop egg, but Heng is in the area. He's overextended. He's going to have to try and run away here. We'll see if his team collapses on this and if they want to just take Dragon as the trade. But overall, this is the Anyone's Legend that I was missing, the one that would make a proactive counterplay across the map. Heng making his way in, though. This could be contested.
Ooh, just, you know, if that was 10 seconds quicker maybe, much different scenario, but Tarzan gets that first Drake that you really fell in love with, those 2 kills. AL out to about 1,000 gold lead, and LGD really only have the crux of those grubs to fall back on. Maybe we could see that utilized to clear this gold gap a bit more later on.
This is a massive win for Anyone's Legend. This is exactly how they wanted this early game to go, and now they're in a great spot. Ryze's Realm Warp is up. You're going to be getting that Naafiri ult back online as well. This is a huge part of the game where they are just stronger than LGD in terms of their ability to play the map, and now they have the objective that just gives them a few more stats. Yes, grubs are going to be helpful in those side lanes, but generally speaking, you can start to force fights around these dragons, and you've got a lot of different ways to be able to control that terrain. You have to walk into Sion and Bard and Varus, and that becomes so much more difficult as this game progresses. This is the exact kind of opening AL we're looking for, and I think LGD do now have to feel a little pressured to make a play in order to catch back up.
Starting to see those first cheaper items start to come through here for that AL gold lead. Youmuu's already completed here for Hope. Is the first one to get a legendary item done. I spot Shaoye up here on the top side here, so LGD, they're trying to overload and punish Flandre. Oh, great pillar there from Heng. No unstoppable onslaught to get him out. The force shot finds its mark from Shaoye, who roamed all the way up top side and cashes in.
That is a very, very nice pick. I just talked about how LGD had to be, a little bit active on the map. They had to get some gold back, and they do get that gold back, specifically getting it onto Jhin. I think is really important. People talk about Jin's inability to kill tanks. Well, you've got a Trundle to siphon those stats away from Sion in this game. Jhin is going to be effective in this team fight. That turret is gone. It's just completely gone. Tangyuan now.
Tangyuan does not have egg. He already had it popped by Shanks. A pretty close range flash. Shanks drops the aggro. Tarzan picks up the kill. YCX Dredge Line actually clips Shanks, and he's able to find that trade kill, and there's no further dive to be had. I don't know how YCX walks up 1v3 and finds a kill.
That's massive for the Nautilus to be able to at least pull some gold back. We've seen that gold lead start to deteriorate for AL. Good map plays coming in from LGD, but again, the overextensions coming in from the middle of the map. It's just unnecessary for the Anivia to lose flash under turret in that exchange. I will say, massive advantage still in favor of LGD because they get the top tower on that push, and that is so much gold in their pockets in the early game, and that is the benefit of grubs. Yeah, exactly. That is the benefit of grubs, is being able to make sure you can get that gold in the right pocket. Burdol is going to be very strong in this game, and he's going to have to be.
Equalizer going to be a factor. Even more so. Now, that, like you mentioned, he's up about 800 gold. The Leandri's already completed to make him a formidable matchup into Mr. Flandre, no matter how much he would like to scale forward. 2 minutes until our Mountain Drake hits the Rift here, and there are no Rift Heralds, so this is where we really start to see the macro map plays be accentuated here by Anyone's Legend as Heng meets Tarzan, who's got that Cyclo Sword completed and takes a decent chunk. But this is where the fun starts to begin, right? Because now we get into those side lane conversations, Kman. Our bottom lanes are stuck in mid lane. So let's see if Shanks can, maybe look for one of those overloads. We're yet to see a Realm Warp out of the Ryze.
I do want to say as well, there's a 40 CS gap in the AD carry role right now. I mean, Hope is so far ahead on this Varus into the Jhin. This is not how this matchup is supposed to go. Jhin should be perfectly fine farming for free, but that's not been the case so far this game. If Jhin starts to fall behind, it's nice to see that catch-up, gold come through, but Hope is a full item up right now. He's got that Youmuu's completed, and that is massive if they want to look for some of these side lane plays, because again, you're right, the Realm Warp is up, it is available, and while Tangyuan might be stacking that Roa a little bit quicker, the best ability is availability, and Shanks has much better availability for these team fights. If you can play around this Varus and Naafiri power spike with the Realm Warp, I mean, this is the exact part of the game where I think AL have all the tools necessary to open things up, even if it's not around this dragon in 50 seconds.
Okay, man, just imagine if Shaoye doesn't get that 4-shot kill. This would be a catastrophic difference in the AD carry department. And, well, the way Mr. Shaoye is building, it's not like he's going to scale and catch up too much further with that Yo moves. But here we go with Kael. Realm Warp down behind after the Tempered Fate grabs 2. And YCX didn't have a chance in the world to survive Tarzan's wrath. 25 seconds till the dragon is out. And Mr. YCX will not be able to join the party.
I love when AL agrees with me. It feels right when I see this team go, hey, we're in a great spot in the mid game. What if we just kept pushing? What if we looked for these fights, looked for these plays to be made? And that's exactly what they do. Kael being a big playmaker with the Bard ultimate, that's what I've been waiting to see. You don't need to wait for the dragon to force these fights. You can make them before the objective even spawns. You have control over the river, at least a little bit. You are going to let LGD be able to walk themselves in, but this is going to be a tough fight for LGD to take. They're going to have a little bit of control, but it's going to be tough to make sure you can outplay AL at this point. Shanks?
Yeah, I mean, Shanks taking a ton of harass here. Tangyuan has the egg passive back up, and Heng has been bopping the dragon on his own here with the rest of his squad. TP coming here down from Flandre. YCX stretch line will connect onto Kael. Magical Journey's back out to safety. Dragon down about 3Ks. The curtain call comes out here from Shaoye. Tarzan already into the pit, getting assaulted as he flashes over the wall. They find Tangyuan, who with the egg form will finally drop. LGD pick up the dragon, but at the cost of their mid laner, and now they got to hightail it out, try and get away from Kael with the Tempered Fate. Forces a flash. No one found, but the flash is galore forward. Decimating Smash won't be found because YCX trades his key summoner out as well. AL desperate to find more kills, but they'll only trade a dragon for Tangyuan's life. Chains of Corruption does not get enough damage through for Hope, and we finally settle back down from our first 5v5 of the series.
It's a good disengage coming in from LGD. Ultimately, it's not nearly as bad as it could have been, but they still get an extra kill for the side of Anyone's Legend. And the thing that I continue to push is that AL are going to be very happy with the trade of, oh, you want to start playing for dragons because you've started to get them as well? Well, we're going to be able to take those fights in the river. We're going to be able to set up around a lot of these 5v5s. We see how this starts. It actually looks kind of bad for Shanks, who loses half of his health before anything even begins. But Tangyuan is so separated from the rest of his team at this point because he was trying to get shoved onto the bottom side that he is, a sitting duck. There is no way for him to be able to rejoin his team at any point. He is the sacrificial lamb for this dragon to go down. It's not the play that LGD wanted to make, but at the end of the day, it's probably the one they felt the most comfortable making, and at least they got something out of it.
I thought I saw that right, by the way. Tangyuan realized he was dead, so he actually tried to TP out because he knew only Rune Prison was the CC they had. It was close to the egg TP out there, but that does take the TP off Tangyuan as he drops again. So that will not be available, and will make LGD's map play a bit lesser of a threat here with that TP down. Rift Herald is going to be the prize for AL with that map pressure you're talking about here, Kman. So we'll see if they can utilize that to knock down their first structure of the game. Top lane's looking pretty healthy, so I suspect maybe a mid lane play, but right now, Burdol is getting some free time of his own on that bottom lane. It's going to force the unstoppable onslaught on Mr. Flandre to make sure that AL does not lose another structure.
I mean, you get the ult out, but it's really a scary situation now. You have Tarzan on Naafiri, 3 kills, up 1,000 gold, and he's got the Herald, so he's going to be able to increase that lead even more going into the later part of the game. If you were worried about potentially getting outscaled if you're Anyone's Legend, which I think is maybe not a huge fear, but something that you have to think about in these team fights with the way that things are structured, you know what solves that problem is a very fed Naafiri in the jungle who can just take over these team fights. That's exactly the situation they've set up for. And, I mean, this is classic AL. It's Kael making plays, and it's Tarzan getting fed on a carry. It's everything we asked for here in Game 1.
It's a nice bounce back for two fans of the Pandas. This definitely feels shades of AL when they're at their best here. And, well, Tarzan is looking to once again redive. Here we go with Anyone's Legend. An overload that forces Burdol to TP out. But, again, that's still a win for AL. They get that summoner out, and now they get more standing gold. Their first turret dropped on the map.
AL show up and get a free teleport. Like, that's how scared LGD have to play right now. That being said, Heng's trying to contest his red buff?
Oh, okay. Cosmic Binding lands into that Tempered Fate here. Chains of Corruption perfectly timed, but Heng is going to get him at Kael's, able to get out as Tarzan gets stuck in the Glacial Storm. Tarzan going to have to use a very small Magical Journey to distance himself as the Curtain Call forces a Realm Warp. Kael hurting, but he's out and safe. AL maybe starting to test their limits of the map pressure game.
I was so bought into the AL hype that I really thought they were going to win that. But no, you can't get away with everything on the map, it would seem. They do get punished a little bit for overextending, have to burn a couple of their big playmaking tools to get themselves out. But this is the problem, is that was about as good as you could hope for LGD at this point, and they still were in a little bit of a danger in that situation. You need to be continuing to look for these plays, especially now that the Realm Warp is on cooldown. This is when you can start playing those side lanes, and this is when you can start utilizing some of the power coming in from Anivia to trap some of these less mobile carries. Really interested to see if LGD can take advantage of this, exactly like this.
All right, Tangyuan, another great trade there into Shanks. Tarzan was looking for the dive, and said he's found Heng, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, there's 4 members of AL all over Heng's jungle. He flashes, but the Hound's pursuit follows. Great follow flash from Tarzan. He doesn't get hit by the dredge line. The wall does not force Tarzan back into turret aggro, so he gets himself out of dodge. Another great overload. This time, AL grab another kill and push their gold lead even further. Unless Burdol has something to say about it. Been pretty quiet in this game so far. He's itching to make a play. The Stoppable Onslaught could have clipped the wall there for Flandre, so Burdol is able to walk things out. But still, another AL win. The gold lead continues to rise.
This is definitely just a little bit of an experience diff right now. AL are so much faster to these plays. They are so much quicker at being able to react to what they want to do on the map. And I talk about this all the time. Whoever gets to control the pace of the game, whoever is the one making the decisions, they are often going to be the ones that control how the map goes. Right now, that is anyone's legend. They have gotten themselves a 2.5K gold lead. We're going to get a replay of this. AL are just first to the play. Heng trying to farm up here on Tarzan, but Kael, Flandre, they are quicker to react. Look at the rotations coming in from YCX and from Burdol. They're just not in time, and that sets up for AL to try and take this dragon. They're second to the game.
Wow, what a way to drop out of a replay here. We have battle lines already drawn. First Infernal Drake of an Infernal Soul on the map. And oh boy, that's a Battle Herald summoned here. Tempered Fate again. Shaoye's flash has to be used. Jhin's corruption clips onto YCX. Equalizer onto the back line. Does very little damage. Shanks has to walk back up towards the team as YCX regains with the dead line. Tarzan gets the Infernal Drake. Is absolute pandemonium as Flandre is the first one to drop here. LGD once again trying to kick it out of the Drake pit with the one kill they're able to grab. But there's a Rift Herald in the mid lane. AL grab themselves the dragon, and they are not looking to slow down the pace here. Great wall from Tangyuan, though. Makes the Rift Herald very irrelevant. And mid-tier 1 should stand tall here still for LGD.
Yeah, that's actually a really, really big play for LGD. Being able to stop that Herald is kind of the difference between this game starting to spiral and them being able to at least keep something up on the map, specifically keeping that gold lead from ballooning out of control in the jungle. But still, Dragon going over to AL. They are now 2 away, obviously, from Soul, but more importantly, it's going to be an Infernal Soul this game for Naafiri, playing into a comp that really has Nautilus as its... Oh, God, Burdol is just gone. Disregard anything I said about Tarzan not having a 2K gold lead.
we were waiting so much, right? We felt like AL were getting those small the wins, right, on the side lanes, but LGD had done a pretty admirable job guarding it, so it was usually only a 1-for-1 trade. It costed a lot to get those pick plays over. This is where we start to really open the game up if Tarzan's able to just really pick off any of these side laners, because you mentioned the gold lead. He's got 3 items, Kman. If he finds either Tangyuan or Burdol alone, he's winning those 1v1s handedly.
Naafiri might be winning the 1v5s handily very soon in terms of how these team fights are going. Tarzan, I mean, this is his signature carry. When you think about how he can destroy games, it's always been this champion. I'm shocked to see AL get so much comfort in game number 1 in the draft. It's basically the complete opposite of what happened in their previous series against WE, and they're utilizing it here.
Chains of Corruption, just making sure that YCX can't put the depth charge down when the pillar lands there from Hope. Still protected. Also has the Edge of Night Shield, which is very pesky, as the dredge line will land here onto Flandre. Exact target that AL want to get hit, but with that Subjugate shredding stats, Flandre is a mincemeat. There's the pick found there for LGD's. YCX is going to re-engage with a audacious dredge line. Hope puts a piercing arrow into his heart and finds that trade kill, as mid lane is the center stage for our next round. It'll just be a 1-for-1 trade again. These fights teetering on breaking this game open, but we're not just there yet. It's still AL in control.
How many 1-for-1s have we had this game, Slayer? It's been absolutely astounding. It feels like even when it looks like it's going to be a 1-for-0 in the mid lane, YCX makes sure that we get a 1-for-1 trade with the not re-engaging there. But still, I hate to say it, it's fine for anyone's Legend. I know I keep repeating that these small 1-for-1s are going in their favor, but they have so much control over the map that when these exchanges happen, they immediately get to translate that lead into their pushing lanes insides, which means that they get to benefit from the fights happening in the first place. Still 2 minutes away from Dragon, which I think is going to be the next major fight, but don't be surprised if, you know, Kael's ult coming off of cooldown in 5 seconds means that AL are going to try and open up for another playmake again.
You can see just how much the Pandas are itching to make Tangyuan uncomfortable, not just to, you know, slow this Anivia down further, but more importantly, Kman. This wave clear of the Anivia is really hampering AL's ability to open this map up more. Finally, now with Tangyuan on a reset, they will knock down that mid-tier 1 turret. They've been wanting to do that for about the last 10 minutes. Oh, that's a great wall from Tangyuan. Shanks on the wrong side. Pillar knocks him back towards LGD, and the LGD mid laner picks up a key shutdown. Burdol is TP'd in. The first signs of mortality here from anyone's Legend as they're on the back foot.
Yeah, we'll see how much they can get off of that. That is a very, very big pick. Ryze is dead for 30 seconds. They're going to try to get this mid lane tower.
Equalizer down. Pushes AL even further away, and thanks to those grubbies, no aggro on to the champions of LGD. And they'll get the kill and a trade of that tier 1 turret. And they're really eyeing this Baron, but let's not get too ahead of ourselves here.
Yeah, you don't want to overreact to a nice pick, but it is a very nice pick. This is the problem with Ryze specifically as an answer to Anivia, is you can catch out Ryze playing way too greedy and aggressive. He has to step up to do as much as he can, and Shanks just not respecting the fact that he can get caught. In that instance, it's a great hook from YCX as well to be able to secure the follow-up CC after the wall and make sure that the Realm Warp is not enough, that you have the damage coming down, but it just takes the gold lead from 3K down to 1.5K. You're still setting up around these objectives, and as we get closer and closer to Soul Point here for AL...
Oh, Burdol. It's just rinse and repeat. Oh my god, Tarzan, that disgusting amount of damage at this point. Yep, Tarzan is making a point that this Rumble, really just both of these solo lanes are really starting to lose a grip on the leads that they have. Yes, Burdol is still above 1,000, but that's what you expect in the Sion. We're on to the Baron here for Mr. Tarzan and company. LGD can't get in. No. Tempered Fate's going to clip YCX. Hope going to commit the Chains of Corruption. The lockdown comes across YCX. It's using the Kaels and his flash just to get away from the AL engage. LGD, though, they do get the Pandas off of that Baron, but I have a feeling AL are just going to mosey their way on down to a Soul Point date with an Infernal Drake. As another good wall comes across from Tangyuan, there's Kael that has to use his flash. It's not necessarily too easy for AL to cross over to this Dragon, but nonetheless, they are here, and Tarzan is burning through it. Here's the curtain call down from Shaoye to do some poke damage. Another hook's going to come down onto Flandre as Heng gets in and takes away the Dragon. Flandre eats the force shot. He's a blinking health bar, but here comes Tarzan. How's Pursuit call the pack? He's dashing on everybody. Shaoye's the next victim. The king of the jungle has returned for anyone's Legend, and LGD will not survive. Tangyuan will find a trade kill onto Flandre, but he drops into the egg form that's getting turned into an AL omelet. Ace down home for AL, and it's their king jungler to do it.
Tarzan is back. What a team fight from the true leader of anyone's Legend, the player that needed to step up in this series. He not only stepped up in that team fight, he hard carried. We get a replay of how this is set up in the first place. This honestly isn't all that bad from LGD. As long as Burdol can make it back to the fight in relatively quick time, you have a way to be able to play this out. The steal comes through from Heng, but they commit so much to the Dragon that this Naafiri is untouched. The ultimate already off of cooldown from that play on the top side. And as close as Tarzan gets to dying here, we all know this Naafiri is unkillable at times in these team fights, and Tarzan plays it just about as perfectly as you can ask. Hope as well on the backline, just dealing so much damage on this Varus, really utilizing that gigantic lead he was able to generate for himself, and the plays aren't even over. Kael gonna whiff an ultimate. Who cares? We're setting up for Baron now.
And they are not letting LGD in. Another Mikael's in response to Chains of Corruption. This time Heng, but Hope's caught on the wrong side of a wall. He's got a flash before the Dredge Light comes down, with the Root Prison does find YCX. And a key engaged tool is down, and Hound's Pursuit's coming through again from Tarzan. Burdol's worst nightmare, once again, is the pack of Tarzan's dogs. 2 kills to AL, and now Baron is a certainty for the Pandas.
Anyone's Legend taking a lead and making it a certainty. This is what we missed from this team. This is the exact kind of gameplay that we were begging to see out of Anyone's Legend. We weren't seeing it throughout a lot of the regular season. We weren't seeing it in the series against WE. They got a reality check in that series, and it's clear that they have shown up here today. They are respecting LGD. They are playing confident. They are playing cocky, and they are dominating the map right now as they've exploded their gold lead up to almost 6,000.
And more than half of that, Kman, in Mr. Tarzan's pocket here. He'll finally look to reset after all that chaos. And, yep, there's the endless hunger completed. He is 4 items strong. And, well, if you thought Burdol's health bar was going down quickly, you better hope this guy doesn't get to reset on your entire backline if you're LGD. It is a scary prospect for this comp to play back forward. And now the purple assault, we'll call it here, for AL is coming on to all these turrets as well. They'll drop a top lane tier 2 turret to further increase their gold bounty.
I mean, this is just exactly, I say it's exactly what you want to see, but it's all comfort here as AL continue to push out these 2 different lanes. They're so good at pushing forward. They got to be careful of the wall here, though. They could get caught into some bad positions. They should be fine. They have a ton of different ways to disengage, so long as it's not the Ryze who ends up getting caught, or the Varus in that instance. So just making sure that you don't take one of these flashless carries into a bad spot. They should be able to push this down and try and pressure out this tier 2 in the mid lane.
Even with Baron empowered minions, again, the Anivia value is very valuable on these pushes. I think it's very hard for them to ever kind of just brute force down a turret unless it's on its last crutches. So I'd like to see Tarzan kind of break up that mold and shift down to the bot side where Tangyuan is a bit late here to try and cover. But again, AL are going to, respect the wave clear, respect the wall, as you pointed out, and they're not going to over-index too far to try and get these turrets. LGD are just slower to these rotates for now, but it hasn't cost them any turrets. Just as another Tempered Fate does come down onto Heng. Good untargetable, forces YCX too far forward. He's got the Kael's, a Rune Prison there from Shanks. So that key CC tool is off the board here for LGD as the 4-1 has fully come online here.
That's exactly it. When I talk about it being kind of hard to stop this push, it's because AL basically get to choose exactly where they want to be. They had so many good lane states across the entire map that they can push mid, they can push top, they can push bot. They're going to be able to get all of these turrets. The moment you land one Bard ultimate, you have to burn everything to make whoever got hit by it escape, and that's the rest of the turrets going down as well. So 8k gold lead for AL. It's a good use of this Baron, and when they're back on the map, as this Baron expires, you know what else is on the map? Infernal Soul, or I guess not Soul, Infernal Soul Point, I'll say, for Anyone's Legend, an objective that I think they're going to be pretty happy to go out and try and take.
They've got a lot of their engaged tools back online. This time for LGD, I will point out, they do all have access to their flashes, so some playmaking still in the bag here for LGD, and hey, they do have first setup towards the side of the river, but the Baron push may be dissipating, but AL have used the last gasp of it to bring a mid-wave down, and now they can flank the setup that LGD have. Dragon is dark. It is going down slowly here as Flandre will try and walk in with his BD health bar. Tempered Fake and land on the 2 as Chains of Corruption also comes through here from Hope, but looking at Tarzan on the background. Burdol's already into the stasis here. Flandre's going to be the first one to drop as Heng does get himself out, but LGD have now abandoned the Dragon, and Burdol is still left on an island with a rabid dog known as Tarzan. Shanks finds that first kill, and now LGD are cornered in the wrong side of the jungle. Tarzan going to go after Heng here as Tangyuan will find Kael. Flashes galore come out as Shanks looks to find Shaoye, cleanses the Rune Prison, but his health bar is far too low, and Tarzan has found him. Tarzan has found all of LGD, knocking down kill after kill. Tangyuan's gonna find one stun, but Tarzan smells blood in the water, and he's got himself another huge team fight win. Quadra kill to Tarzan, Ace Anyone's Legend, game 1 to the Pandas.
Tarzan is here. If there was any question about whether or not he was ready to dominate another playoff series, every single one of those questions has been answered. You cannot give the king of the jungle Naafiri. At this point, you must understand that you will lose. Dragon going down, so game is not going to be quite over just yet, but the base is completely broken open for AL. The gold lead is near insurmountable. It's a 6,000 gold lead for Tarzan in the jungle over Heng. 13 kills, and we get a replay of this team fight. I actually hate this setup for LGD. I think this makes it so much more difficult for them to play this fight out because they have to retreat upwards into these small close quarters. Burdol looking for the flank flank is separated, but Tarzan actually isn't in this fight for the big beginning part of it. If you can land some damage on the equalizer, maybe something can happen, but it's just not meant to be. Burdol gets basically no value out of that. Tangyuan does a great job of trying to pull something back here. The CC chain coming down onto the Bard is really nice, but the priority targets are completely untouched. Shanks gets to flash over the wall. Tarzan gets to take down whoever he wants, and at this point, a half-health Naafiri is more than enough to be able to clean up every bit of the rest of this team fight. You have just let the dog get too fed, and unfortunately, that means there is no comeback attempt that is available here for LGD.
Kman, let the dogs out.
Who?
Thank you. I'm sure that was the highlight of your casting career right there.
Yes.
Going back, you know, it's deserved, right? This guy's 13-0 on the Naafiri. I don't think I've ever done this, but you know what? If there's no way this comes back to bite us. Player of the game is Tarzan. I mean, we don't even need. We can already have these conversations now. It's only, you know, amount of formality here for AL. They're going to try and set up for this next Baron that will surely allow them to push further through the LGD base. But LGD, they also can't necessarily let this go over for free, but you can see our observers showing just how dark the topside river is. Temperate Fate not going to land, so that's a small win for LGD, but who's going to answer the daunting task of face-checking into this river? It was YCX at first. Is able to absorb the chains of corruption. Shanks trying to flank alongside the bot part of this mid lane. Tarzan is forced to go into that untargetable as Kael flashes forward to try to find these slows. Piercing arrows coming down. Flash! Unstoppable onslaught and S-Make smash from Flandre. He wants in on the playmaking game, and he's going to open up all of LGD to the buzzsaw that is Anyone's Legend. No Baron needed. There's the final fight. Game 1 now in the hands of Anyone's Legend.
AL putting the bow on top of a present to themselves in game number 1 as they push down the base. A dominant game 1 win, up 11,000 gold. Burdol's not even safe
Burdol.
around his own fountain. This is everything we could possibly want out of AL. A dominant game 1 victory.
26 kills for Anyone's Legend. Tarzan a part of 24 of them. One of the greatest single game jungle performances of our playoffs so far.